I never said that. I think you are overreacting. I think you started behaving so sensitive and irrational. Do you hear such accusations often? Is there a person or people in your life that constantly tell you this and make you question your sanity? Then you might be one of the victims of gaslighting, a psychological manipulation, pressure, or even a psychological violence. Gaslighting, an interesting word. We can describe it as psychological manipulation. When we look at its origin, it's named after the movie called Gaslight that was made in 1944. If we need to mention it without giving any spoiler, it can be summed up as the relationship of a married couple, that the husband tries to make his wife believe that she lost her mind. Probably everyone faced this effect in the past and still do, and we can say that no one is safe. Narcissists, dictators, cult leaders, and people with tendency for all sorts of violence use this skillfully. And to a great extent, people that experience it do not realize it. Okay, let's talk about what is gaslighting and how to realize that you are a victim of it or not. Psychiatrists describe gaslighting as the sum of all tactics that are used to make a person or group to question their reality, sanity, memories, and their sense in general. And this is a really serious problem. Starting to question your own reality is one of the biggest problems you might encounter. Actually, it doesn't manifest itself as big manipulations. Generally, it starts as little pressures. However, these pressures become a real problem by growing like a snowball. And finally, you find yourself as incapable of deciding, even if you have such a healthy mind. Gaslighting might occur in relationships between lovers, parents and children, boss and employees, between co-workers, and in a societal level, like I mentioned in the beginning. However, it is necessary to pay attention to some signs and to be aware of them. First of all, when it comes to gaslighting, authority and power dynamic is crucial. The person exposed to manipulation generally sees the other one as a power figure and they resign themselves to those little manipulations in order not to lose the other one. When you love somebody, you want to believe that person, and this belief might become a weapon in the hands of your loved one. And if the power dynamic is not balanced, you may be willing to change your sense of reality. By the way, the person who manipulates you does not have to have bad intentions or maybe even unaware of it. Upbringing is crucial when it comes to relationships. Especially if you grew up in a family when everything is considered either black or white, when you step into other relationships and meet people having different thoughts from you, you may start believing that there's definitely something wrong with them. However, before going into deeper, let's set the record straight. Gaslighting and lying is not the same thing. These two are generally confused with one another. Let's talk about lying first. If you are familiar with TV show House MD, you would remember what Dr. Gregory House always says. Everybody lies. The biggest reason of lying is generally fear. The fear of getting into trouble, having problems with others, and these lies are generally little lies, like telling your parents that you are studying when you are hanging out with your friends, telling the teacher that you were sick so you couldn't study. However, not all lies are that simple. For instance, you may end up in jail if you lie in an investigation. If the police believe that you are guilty, they try different techniques like polygraph. And then there are lies we call as white lie, the ones you tell in order not to hurt other people's feelings or to protect them, like telling that you love a present that are bought for you even if you hate it. Nevertheless, if you give that present to someone else or sell it, and the person who got you that present finds out about this, you may even be in a bigger trouble. Therefore, it is good to stay away from lies, even if they are little white lies. Additionally, there are pathologic liars who lie in order to draw attention and even believing the lies they tell themselves and live in a delusion. However, let us not lose our focus and talk about the most dangerous and organized one, gaslighting. As I mentioned earlier, in gaslighting, a person tries to destroy someone's sense of reality on purpose so as to gain power over the other one. The most common one in clinical psychology is abuser spouses, mostly husbands, and similar tactics are applied in most of the cases. Let's take a look at those tactics. The first one is naturally denying. When they face with an accusation, they directly deny it. For instance, if they hit their spouse, they say, "Nonsense, I did not lay a finger on you." They say that so convincingly, even at some point the victim starts questioning whether the act of violence was real or not. And sometimes there is disdain. They accept what they did, however states that it wasn't a big deal. "I didn't hit you that hard, I merely pushed you. You would be in the hospital if I hit you. Don't dramatize it." And the like. The other one is an alternative explanation, like saying, "Yes, something like that happened, but I'm not generally that kind of person." You may call it as distorting the target. And naturally it follows accusation. "Yes, I cheated on you because you show me no interest." Or there might be an absolute denial that the person might claim that they have no recollection about that event whatsoever. Naturally, there are other tactics as well, but let's question ourselves first. How can we realize whether we are a victim of gaslighting or not? What are the signs for that? For instance, if you constantly question yourself and have difficulty in deciding, feel almost always so vulnerable and insufficient about everything, question your relationship and think that you lose control whenever you are with that person, if you feel that you always say the same things but the other one doesn't hear you, if you are never sure of your emotion and decisions, if you are the one who always apologizes, if you try to find an excuse for the behavior of the person in your life, if you generally feel unhappy, feel there is something wrong in your life but unable to tell what is, yes, you might be one of the victims of gaslighting. So, what should you do in that situation? First of all, you need to determine the problem. When you name a problem, it would be easier to face it. Taking note of your experiences when you feel you are manipulated and having a look at those notes when you question yourself might be helpful. Second, trusting in your feelings. If you feel something, there is no point in escaping from it. Your feelings do not lie to you. They are there even if you ignore them. Plus, when you start ignoring them, you start becoming a victim. You can be ready to take necessary actions after you admit your feelings. Third, be willing to give up. The biggest obstacle to be freed from gaslighting is that the person manipulating you is someone you love and care about. There might be good times once you had with that person. However, a relationship that makes you question your own reality is toxic. Sometimes you need to give up on that person in order to regain yourself and your self-esteem. Otherwise, you have to become an extension of them, have to live under their shadows. Fourth, make small decisions. Instead of going to a major big war, you need to proceed step by step. In order to get rid of the manipulation, it is necessary to evaluate each incident separately. However, the most important, ask for advice, whether of someone you trust or of an expert. Sometimes we can be unable to evaluate the events by ourselves. Right and wrong might be tangled with each other. Sharing your emotions with someone else can help you have a more open point of view. In order to avoid a misunderstanding, not every discussion and conflict in relationships mean there's a gaslighting there. We can say that some conflicts and healthy discussions are useful and necessary. What I am talking about here is a constant manipulation of one part on the other one's sense. A constant emphasizing that they feel and think wrong and unbalancing their reality. Therefore, you are the one to decide. Focus on your feelings and do not be afraid of taking action against that manipulation, which can be defined even as an abuse sometimes. Do not let others to build your own reality. The only architect of your reality is you and you alone. Until we meet again, stay healthy and happy.